What if I told you that the average 55-year-old in America has just $89,716 saved for retirement? And here's the kicker. If you're a business owner listening to this, you're probably in even worse shape. Welcome to Plan Life Right, the podcast where we destroy financial myths and give you the strategies that wealthy have quietly used for decades. I'm Kevin Ross, the host of Plan Life Right.
And I'm Matt Floyd. Kevin, that number is absolutely terrifying. $89,716. I mean, that's not even 2 years of basic living expenses for most business owners. But here's what's even scarier: 80% of small business owners don't even know their number. They're out there flying blind, so they have no clue how much they actually need to retire.
Yeah, Matt, after working with thousands of financial advisors and their high net worth clients over the past 2 decades, I can tell you the reality is even worse than those statistics suggest. I've seen business owners making 500,000, a million, even 2 million plus annually, and they're living paycheck to paycheck, just like everyone else,
How is that even possible?
right? It's because they think their business is their retirement plan. But when it comes time to sell, they discover their $1 million business is only worth like $200,000 on the open market. And that's if they can even find a
Right.
buyer at all. I've watched this tragedy play out hundreds of times, and it's just really completely preventable.
And I always think back to how many business owners were buying Blockbuster Music or Tower Records, and then they couldn't even
Yeah,
give those away when it was time to retire.
yeah. And I want to share a story that still haunts me because it perfectly illustrates what we're talking about here today. About 14 or so years ago, I sat across from a guy named David. He was a brilliant guy. He was in his mid 40s. He owned his own, thriving consulting firm. And so I showed him, how to use an indexed universal life policy, not as an expense, but as a financial asset. It showed him tax-free growth, tax-free retirement income, and built-in asset protection.
And what was his reaction?
Well, you know what? He looked at me like I was speaking Mandarin. He said, Kevin, why would I put money in insurance when every dollar in my business is returning me 15 to 20%? I'm healthy. I work out. I'm in better shape than you are, which honestly he was. Um, he was convinced that he was going to work until 70. He'd sell his business for millions and sell off into the sunset.
I'm guessing this doesn't have a happy ending.
Unfortunately, no. Around 53 or so, David was diagnosed with early onset dementia. Um, the IUL that I proposed had a long term care rider that would have cost him maybe $200 extra a year. And cents on the dollar. But he said, why should I worry? I'm bulletproof. Within 18 months of him getting diagnosed, his business was sold for next to nothing because you know what? He couldn't run it anymore. The medical expenses started to pile out up. Home health care really just crushed the family financially.
Yeah, and that's devastating. What happened to this family?
Well, so his wife unfortunately had to sell their dream home that he worked so hard to get. They had to move in with her sister, I believe. And now she's, I think, working retail. So she's 58. She's having to work retail just to survive. And all because David didn't know his number.
Right.
You know, he didn't know the real number, not just what he needed to retire, but what he needed to protect against life's curveballs. And Matt, I've seen this exact scenario play out dozens of times with different business owners. Kind of why we started playing life right,
Right, I'm
because
sure.
life happens fast, right?
So let's get real with our listeners, Kevin. When you work with advisors who serve business owners, what numbers do their clients actually need to know?
That's a great question. There's really three critical numbers every business owner really must know. And based on my experience with thousands of cases, most are clueless really about all three.
Right.
So number one's your freedom number. And what I mean by that is how much do you need invested to never worry about money again? And then second's your protection number. How much coverage do you need if you can't work tomorrow? And then third, your legacy number. So what are you actually leaving your family after taxes and expenses? What do you want to leave?
Okay, so let's break those down because I'm sure a lot of people are just hearing these numbers for the first time. Let's start with the freedom number. What should a 45-year-old business owner making $500,000 a year be targeting?
And now you're trying to fast math in my head, aren't you? So here's what I've learned from working with high net worth clients for over 2 decades. The conservative rule of thumb is you need 25 times your desired annual retirement income. So if they want $200,000 per year in retirement, that's $5 million.
Right.
But here's the problem. I see consistently business owners think, I'll just sell my business for 5 million. That's not a plan. It's really a prayer.
Right. And what's that protection number?
So the protection number, this is where I see business owners dangerously expose themselves every single day. If you can't work for 6 months due to an illness or an injury, you have enough liquid assets to maintain your lifestyle and keep your business running. In my experience, 90% don't. They need disability insurance, long term care coverage, liquid emergency funds. And I've seen too many Davids who thought they were invincible.
Which brings us back to David's story. He had none of that protection built in.
Exactly right, Matt. And it destroyed everything he built, that he built 20 years. It destroyed it seems like overnight. The legacy number he thought he was leaving his family was actually zero. Actually negative if
Right.
you factor in the medical debt
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
family had to incur.
So, Kevin, let's talk about what retirement actually costs. The average American spends about $65,000 per year in retirement. But business owners, they're different, aren't they?
Yeah, they're completely different. In my experience with working with successful business owners, they're used to a much higher lifestyle. They need around 150, $300,000 annually just to maintain their standard of living. Plus, they often support adult children. That's more common for everyone now. Aging parents. They may have a vacation home. And there's what most people don't realize. They usually have no employer health benefits, no pension, no 401k match.
So, if the average 55-year-old has only $89,716 saved, how long would that last a typical business owner?
I've run these numbers hundreds of times for clients, and that's really around 4 months. Maybe six if they downsize dramatically and move to a trailer park. I'm kidding there, but it's a financial it's a financial catastrophe. Wow, hard for me to say today. Waiting to happen, and I see it coming, from miles away.
So, what about their businesses? Can't they just sell those?
Well, Matt, this is where I have to be brutally honest, based on what I've witnessed. Most businesses don't sell, period. And the ones that do rarely sell for what the owner thinks they're worth. So I've seen $2 million revenue businesses sell for like, $300,000 because number one, they don't have any systems in place.
Right.
There's no reoccurring revenue. There's no transferable value. The business was just a high paying job disguised as an asset.
That's terrifying. And I imagine that most of these guys that are selling, they're not ramping up growth there at the tail end. They're probably starting to tail off how much
Yeah.
work, how many hours they're putting in. So their business is probably more often than not in a state of decline rather than state of growth, which also
That's
makes
right.
it unattractive to a potential
Buyer.
buyer.
That's right. That, I want to say this is why I'm so passionate about IULs for business owners. It's not about life insurance, which is everybody hears that. Oh, it's talking life insurance. It's not about that. It's about creating a parallel wealth building strategy that can't be touched by market crashes, business failures, or health emergencies. I've seen this work for decades.
So, Kevin, how exactly an IUL addresses three numbers we talked about? And if anybody who's new to this, an IUL, indexed universal life, is what that means. It's permanent cash value life.
Right. So Matt, let me give you a real world example based on an actual client results that I've seen. Let's just say you're 45,
Yeah, I'm right around there.
making 500,000 annually, and you redirect just $50,000 per year into a properly structured IUL. Your freedom number after 20 years, based on historical performances, you could have around 2.5 to $3 million in tax-free cash value, generating around $150,000 annually in tax-free retirement income. And I've seen this exact scenario play out dozens of times with my advisors, clients, customers. And then the protection number. The policy includes death benefits that can have disability riders, long term care benefits, all the protection that David should have had but refused.
Right.
And then lastly, the legacy number. Whatever you don't use passes on to your heirs completely tax free, often doubling or tripling your initial investment. It's called leverage. I've helped families pass $5, $10 million to the next generation without the IRS getting a penny.
And the key difference from a 401k or traditional savings.
Yeah, it's really control and
Mhm.
taxes. There's two things business owners obsess over. With the 401k, the government controls when you can take money out, how much, and they get to tax every penny. I've had clients tell me they feel like their 401k is just an IOU to the IRS, which kind of it is. And with an IUL, you actually control everything. Plus, you get the market upside without the market downside. So if the S&P 500 crashes 40%, for example, your cash value doesn't go down.
Right.
It's just a zero for the year.
And that market protection has to be huge for business owners.
Yeah, it's massive. So, business owners already have all their eggs in one basket, their
Right.
business. They can't afford to have their retirement savings wiped out, like another 2008. I've lived through the dot-com crash and the financial crisis as a bond trader, and I watched wealthy people lose everything overnight. IULs provide the growth potential without that catastrophic risk.
And also that market risk too, because what if we go through another COVID? They say,
Yeah.
you know what, you got a restaurant, but you're gonna have to shut that down for the next 3 or 4
Yeah,
months.
your business owner owns a restaurant. Now
You
what do you
still
do
have
with it?
rent, you still have insurance, you still have
Well, and we're still
utilities.
seeing the ripple effects
Right.
from restaurants closing down because they haven't recovered from
Yeah, and I
from
bet you if you
COVID,
go
and
find some of
because they're not getting
these.
the subsidies. That's what kept a lot of them
Right.
afloat, right?
I bet you if you go talk to some of these mom and pops that were able to stay open when the Chili's across the street floundered and got boarded up, I bet you they had something like this in place because they saw it
Maybe,
coming. They put some type of
maybe.
protection in place, and that's why they're still there. And
If they don't,
yeah.
you need to.
So, Kevin, give us a success story. What does this look like in real life?
So, okay, so I got a client that one of my advisors worked with. I, let's just call him Marcus. He owns three auto repair
Mhm.
shops. He started his IUL around 42, putting in $60,000 annually. And now he's 55, plus 13 years difference, and his cash value is approaching 1.8 million. Last year, he wanted to buy a fourth location, but he didn't want to tie up, his business capital, or deal with the bank loans and all their restrictions
Right.
that go along with it.
So he borrowed his money from his IUL, didn't he?
Exactly right. He took a $400,000 loan against his policy, no credit check. There's no income verification. There's no restrictions on how he used the money. Closed the deal in 2 weeks. The cash value kept growing even with the loan outstanding, and he paid himself back instead of the bank. Now, that fourth shop's generating around $300,000 now in additional annual profit.
Right.
No brainer.
So he used his IUL basically as his own private bank.
Bingo. Exactly right, Matt. And here's the beautiful part of this story. When he retires, he'll have a $200,000 tax-free annual income from the policy, plus the ongoing income from his shops if he decides to keep them.
Right.
He created multiple income streams while protecting his family's future. This is the power of thinking like the wealthy think.
Right. And I think a lot of people are probably hearing this and they're saying, "Oh, well, my protection number, my legacy number, that's the amount in my 401k," but that's not the amount you're ever going to get from that 401k.
That's
You
right.
got to think about what tax bracket are you going to be in when you're in retirement. You're in the 25% tax bracket. We'll take 25% off of that number
That's
in your
right.
401k. So if you got a million, you really only have
750.
750,000.
Right. Hey, you got the math in your head.
Yeah, I'm
Good job.
starting to do it. So, Kevin, what about business owners who think, I'll just get to this later? What's the cost of wait?
Yeah, it's massive. And I've run these numbers thousands of times over the years. Every year you delay starting an IUL, you lose the power of compound growth. A 35-year-old, for example, putting in $30,000 annually could build 4 million by the age of 65. You wait until 45, that same 30,000 annually only builds to 2.1 million. You wait until 55, you're looking at maybe 900,000. The cost of procrastination is literally millions of dollars.
Yeah. What did that mistake cost you? Well, it had 2 commas in it.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
So starting early, we would say that's really everything.
Yeah, it's that power of compounding, like the second podcast we did
Right.
with the taking 2 cups of coffee on a
Exactly.
45-year-old, and they $4 million just by
Yeah, if
not
you haven't
spending
watched that one yet, check that one
six.
out after you like and subscribe.
25, you take off $16 a week saving, put it in the S&P 500, and you're going to have $5 million by the time you're 65.
So time, I mean, we always say it's the most valuable commodity on earth because you could be a
Yeah,
trillionaire, you can't buy yourself an extra second.
that's right. Exactly right. Time is your most valuable asset, and as you get and like you said, you can't get it back. Plus, life insurance gets more expensive every year you
Even
age.
if you stay the same health, it still gets more
Exactly.
expensive.
Yeah, this 40 David, he was fine. I mean, he literally looked fantastic,
Right.
and everything was great in his world. It wasn't.
Exactly.
You know, the 35-year-old that's paying a fraction of what the 55-year-old pays for the same coverage. And here's what really keeps me up at night. Health matters too. And we went through some of that personally,
Right.
with my wife and stuff. So it happens.
Yeah,
Picture of
it
health,
does. Yeah.
things
Yeah,
happen.
my wife's same thing.
Yeah,
She
exactly.
we just had a group term policy and we found out that she had an autoimmune disease, fatal. Tried to go up our coverage, shot down. They're like, "You
Right.
can keep what you got or cancel it, but we're not giving you a dollar
Yeah.
more." And
And they're praying you canceled
yeah,
it.
she was 33 when she was diagnosed. I mean,
Yeah,
33-year-olds, they're
33 year
definitely
olds.
bulletproof.
Yeah,
And then you
100%.
never know what's
I know
waiting
I
right
was
around
at
that corner.
33.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go back to David a little bit. When David was healthy when I first met him, like I said, picture perfect health, worked out daily, better shape than me. If he started that IUL then, he'd have been covered with the dementia hit. But the time that he was diagnosed, like with your wife's story, he was uninsurable.
Yep.
I've seen this happen with heart attacks, how that goes, cancer diagnosis, diabetes, you name it. You can't buy fire insurance when your house is already burning.
Exactly.
Everyone knows that.
Like a snake bite emergency kit. Like, you gotta have it in your backpack before you head out into
Yeah,
the woods. There's nowhere to get
exactly.
one out there.
Exactly.
So, Kevin, for the financial advisors who are listening, this sounds like a huge opportunity. What's your advice?
So, Matt, it's the biggest untapped market in the financial service industry. There are millions of business owners making $300,000 plus who are completely underserved by traditional advisors. Most advisors are still trying to sell them mutual funds and invest the rest, hoping they'll save enough in their 401ks. It's really ridiculous. It's so old school. It's proven not to work. What's the number? 95% of all terms
Right.
um, never used.
99%, yeah. And
99%.
70% within 2 years are either lapsed, converted, or surrendered. So what should these advisors be doing instead?
Yep. Okay. Number one, stop selling
Right.
insurance. Start solving problems. Business owners don't wake up thinking, I need life insurance. That's not reality, guys. They wake up thinking, how do I protect everything I built? How do I minimize taxes? How do I create liquidity without selling my business? When you frame IUL as a business asset and a wealth building tool, everything changes.
And what does that do to the income potential for the advisors themselves?
Well, it's enormous, Matt. A properly structured IUL for a successful business owner can generate 50 to 200,000 in first year commissions plus ongoing renewals. But more importantly, these clients refer other business owners. So I've seen advisors build $2 to $5 million practices focusing exclusively on this market. The lifetime value of a business owner client is often 10 times greater than a typical retail client.
Yeah, and there's kind of like a almost a feeder system for you. I've taken this business owner, I got him an IUL. Now he has additional capital. Your auto
Right.
shop friend. Now I'm opening another shop. Well, I'm
Right.
opening another shop. I need another IUL to protect that shop. Hey, I'm sick of auto shop. I want to open a food truck. Well, now I need an IUL to protect that food truck. Who do you think they're coming to? The same
100%.
guy that got them
Yeah.
off that
Or it's their
financial ledge
friend
they
that's
didn't
trying
know
to
they're
do it.
standing
Hey,
on.
my friend's trying to start a business.
Yeah, how would he do
Or,
it? Yeah, how
yeah.
how could I help him? Well, you can borrow
Right.
200,000 out of your 401k and lend it to him at 10%. Why don't you do
Yeah,
that?
right.
Or your IUL rather.
Right.
So, all right, let's get practical here. We've got two different audiences listening. So, I want you to give specific action steps based on who you are. If you're a business owner listening to this and thinking, I need to figure out my numbers, here's what you do first: calculate your true retirement needs. Don't guess. Actually look at your expenses, your lifestyle, and your goals. Most business owners are shocked when they realize they need 3 to 5 million just to maintain that current life.
Yeah, that's right, Matt. Step two for business owners, assess your current savings trajectory. Are you on track? If you're relying on business sale to fund your retirement, you're probably not. Step three, consider all the risks that we've discussed today: your disability, your long term care, business failure, market crashes. David thought he was bulletproof. Don't be David.
And if you're one of the financial advisors that are listening to us, your action steps are completely different. Kevin, what should advisors do?
Okay, advisors, stop chasing retail clients and start positioning th- yourself as the go to expert for business owners. So, step one, master the language of business owners. Learn how to talk about cash flow, asset protection, tax strategies, not insurance products. I wrote a book on how to talk to business owners, how to
Right.
sell them IULs. Step two, develop case studies and success stories like Marcus that you can share.
And for business owners, go to planliferight.com and click business owner to access our free retirement calculator. For advisors, go to that same website, click advisor to get our complete business owner marketing toolkit. Different audiences, different needs, but both can transform their financial future starting today.
Yeah, here's the bottom line. David thought he had all the time in the world. He thought his health and his business would last forever. Unfortunately, he was wrong, and it cost his family everything. I don't want that to happen to you.
And the question isn't whether you'll face a financial crisis, it's whether you'll be prepared for it when it does happen.
Yeah, we've created a free calculator at planliferight.com where you can figure out your three numbers in about 5 minutes, not even that, maybe 2 minutes. Don't be like David. Don't wait until it's too late. And if you're a licensed advisor who wants to learn how to have these conversations with business owners and scale your practice doing it, head over to advisorrescue.net. We'll teach you the psychology, the stories, the strategies that actually work. We've got books, we got training sessions. There's things that we do ongoing to help you be an expert in that marketplace.
Right. So follow us everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Just search Plan Life Right. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Thanks for listening to Plan Life Right. Share this episode with a business owner who needs to hear it. I'm Kevin
And
Ross.
I'm Matt Floyd. Let's plan smart, live free, and know your number.